All right, let's talk about Devonte Wyatt for a second. I think he's a very interesting prospect for the Green Bay Packers. So, he's someone who a lot of people were very high on. He was drafted in the first round, and I think the Packers were expecting big things, maybe even right away, because he is someone who's 25 as of right now. He was 24 when he got drafted, and it wasn't ideal. So let's talk about our expectations, what ended up happening, and maybe how he could, why it's the case, and how he could get better potentially as well. So first, let's start off with this chart that you see on the screen. This was one of my biggest negatives I personally had with Karlaftis. I mean, you look at that 90.3 grade his last year in college. That's awesome. That's great. You feel good about this. And again, just to be clear, because I know some people will say, oh, PFF grades, who cares about that stuff? This stuff does a great job at translating to the next level. Guys who have good PFF grades in college tend to be good players. So the fact that he had a 90 grade his last year in college is definitely reason for optimism. The issue is that he only had 1 year really anywhere close to this kind of, awesomeness. So because of that, that's what gets me concerned right off the bat. And that was my biggest concern I had with him coming out of college, was that, because there's really no concern with his tape coming out of, his last year. His tape was very good. Heading over here, these are going to be his, the grades, but separated into, specific things such as like pass rush, run defense, and all of that. And, again, consistent across the board. Nothing that's going to really wow you, but, consistent across the board. So the analytics are very good. There's no complaint to have other than it's only 1 year. That's the only complaint, is the small sample size thing. So, okay, usually guys with good analytics can come in and play pretty good right away. What happened with Wyatt? Well, if you look at his PFF grades in the NFL, those are actually still pretty good. I mean, they're not like, otherworldly or anything, but a 69.9 grade for a rookie, that's pretty good. The snap count, not so much, just 224 snaps. So I think the question is kind of like, why wasn't he getting more playing time? Might be the bigger question, more so than why was he struggling so much. And there were there's several things to talk about here though, because for one thing, well, yes, it's fair to bring up, hey, this was good. His PFF grades were good. His efficiency stuff was good. So did the Packers just screw up by having him play? Well, it's worth mentioning, if he played more, maybe that wouldn't be as good. That is kind of how it works, is there is a, the more snaps you're out there, the worse you play. That's definitely a part of it. But also, they didn't feel comfortable with how he was playing to keep him out there consistently. And he did have some bad games on top of it. It's not like he was someone who was just playing, great football every time I watched him, and for some reason they weren't putting him out there. No, that was not the case. If you look at his game in and game out PFF grades, you'll notice that there was a lot of inconsistency here, and some tough games for sure throughout the season. And it wasn't until, in fact, the last game of the season that he really had his one breakout game with a pass rush grade of 92.2 and an overall PFF grade of 90. So that one, and the game that happened week 13 where he only had 9 snaps and looked good in those. But really, it was week 18 that kind of was the first game where he kind of was awoken, and he really played well and kind of showed that maybe he should get more playing time, because earlier he wasn't exactly showing that. So it's, again, these things are always more complex than, oh, stupid team didn't play their good player. No, there's usually more to it than that, and there was on a play like this. Now, going back to his college tape, there are some things that in hindsight I think are fair to bring up about Wyatt. Something like this, which is like, this is just a play that just doesn't happen in the NFL level, where you see the concept that the Bulldogs are currently in, where Wyatt, despite being lined up, I can't see exactly what tech he's at right here, but, lined up right near the guard, but he is still the guy who was essentially the contained man on this side of the field. Watch how when this play begins, you're going to see him be able to get around the tackle and get in position to where he could make a sack. He has this much space. And as you see, that's going to be exactly what he does. He is able to get to the quarterback and bring him down. So, that's definitely something that I find very interesting about just his college stuff is there were plays where he had just more space to operate, and not necessarily even in situations like this where it's a very unique play, but even stuff like this where it's going to be going up one-on-one against a guard right here, and watch what he does. Watch how he really just, completely, takes him out of the play and is able to get to the quarterback immediately for a sack. That is an immediate sack and a superstar level play at the college level by Wyatt. But again, two things obviously have to be mentioned there. Number one, you don't get to play bad guards like that at the college level or at the NFL level. You just don't. Guards are better. You can't dominate like that. And also, you usually don't get that much space. With how far the tackle went away from that play, there was a ton of space for Wyatt to operate, which now at the NFL level, a little bit less space. It makes sense that there's just a bit of an adjustment period. But also even stuff like this where it's going to be, it's a twist. So you have Wyatt who's going to run towards the top of the screen. The other edge rusher on this play is going to run closer towards the bottom of the screen. That's how it's going to work. And as you see, LSU just does not pick it up whatsoever. Wyatt is able to take advantage by quickly getting to the quarterback for a sack. But that's what happened on that play. So that's something that they have to, that's something that, this just did not happen at the NFL level. But at the same time, I don't know. I feel like I watch enough of Wyatt, and I've seen enough of him now. I'm not overly concerned. I think the biggest concern I have with him is just why didn't he get more playing time? Why couldn't he make the field more? Was he not a good practice guy or something like that? I just don't know. It's a very bizarre situation because to me, the college tape feels like most of it should still translate to the NFL level. Maybe not to as good of a degree, but still feels like it should translate to the next level. And to be honest, it kind of has. Like his PFF grades and stuff are not abysmal or anything. So to me, the only thing I have to guess on is he was a bit of a slow starter. That part is true, and that's why he didn't get a ton of playing time. And maybe he's just not good in practice, and that's kind of made the coaching staff not like him as much. But the reality is, I think this next year he should get a lot more playing time, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing what he does with that playing time, and can he take the next step and be a very effective player for the Green Bay Packers. So yeah, those are kind of my thoughts on Devonte Wyatt. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. How do you feel about him, and do you agree that he could, with more playing time next year, become a much better player? Or just, become much more well-known, maybe is the better way to phrase it. But yeah, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.